Hi and welcome to my channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to take you on a nice little tour of the town of Pitcher, Oklahoma. Pitcher is a former town in Ottawa County, Oklahoma. It is located in the northeast corner of Oklahoma on Quapaw Indian land. It is also home to the Tar Creek Superfund site, along with its sister cities of Treese, Kansas and Cardin, Oklahoma. The town and whole area are now one of the most polluted areas in the United States. Lead and zinc ore was discovered in the area in 1913. The area became the world's largest producer of lead and zinc and employed over 11,000 men in over 250 mills. 1926 was the highest year of production. At one time, Pitcher had a population over 14,000 people. The town and area produced over $20 billion worth of ore from 1917 to 1947. Pitcher supplied lead for half the bullets fired by the U.S. in World War I. At that time, Pitcher and the Tri-State Mining District supplied 45% of the lead and 50% of the zinc used in the United States. Primary mining in the area ceased in 1967. The legacy of this mining is over 14,000 abandoned mine shafts, 75 million tons of chat piles, over 150 feet tall, 36 million tons of mill sand, acid mine water, sinkholes, lead poisoning, and an area considered too toxic to be habitable. The photos that have been playing were found on Google with an easy search for Pitcher, Oklahoma images. Unfortunately, the majority of all these buildings no longer exist. The town of Pitcher truly is a giant wasteland of nothing at this point in time. And as you will see in the video that's playing, there isn't much left. So I wouldn't suggest going to Pitcher to take all those fancy photos and everything like that you just saw, because unfortunately a lot of that stuff doesn't exist anymore. And also, when I was there, the Quapaw police did, seem to drive by me 5, 6, 7 times while I was there. There's only really people working and trying to clean up the town, and that's it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Pitcher as we drive around. Now, as you drive around Pitcher, Oklahoma, one of the main features of the former town that you'll notice very quickly are the giant chat piles. Chat piles are the mine tailings from the underground mines located beneath and around the former town. And one of the crazy things is when you are driving around in Pitcher, Oklahoma, you are indeed driving on top of all those mines. The mines are located directly beneath the city.
Now, these houses people have gone in these houses a lot of times, so there's really no need to even go in them. And as you can see too, it says keep out in giant letters.
These former houses here that have giant keep out, they've been stripped down to nothing. In other videos that people have posted, you can see them walking around inside and they're showing the houses. And as a kid or as a younger adult, when I would go through Pitcher, we'd always stop and go through the buildings. Now, if you look right there to the left, you'll notice there's a newer building and it has some cars outside of it. That is actually the Quapaw Nation Indian tribe, and they built a building there, and that was also the Quapaw Nation's police department, I believe, and those were where the police were. And as I drove around the town, they left there and they drove by me multiple times, probably just to see what the heck I was doing, because they are very strict on people entering on entering the old abandoned buildings that are located in this town. The ones that remain, that is. I wouldn't suggest going into them because, as stated, Pitcher is toxic, and all those chat piles are lead toxic. So all that stuff is inside all those buildings, and also with all the empty mine shafts, collapses, sinkholes, bugs. I mean, there's giant red wasps and snakes and fun things like that. You really don't want to be wandering around inside the buildings, and I'm sure the Indian tribe don't want a bunch of YouTubers and photo hounds just wandering around inside this stuff. On September 8th, 1983, Pitcher and Cardin, Oklahoma, along with Treese, Kansas, became the Tar Creek Superfund site. This designation occurred because of the risks of cave-ins, groundwater contamination, toxic chat piles, and uncovered mine shafts.
Now, even though technically the town is abandoned or people were forced to move from the Pitcher, Cardiff, Treese area, there's actually a lot of workers still here. This is a Superfund site, and they're processing the chat piles, which is an forever and ongoing thing. They've torn down most of the houses and most of the buildings, but some people do still live here. Here's some views of the chat piles. And there's someone's house. And another one. I believe that's the school, or it was the school and their football field. So we're gonna go over there now.
The majority of the pollution occurred from the early 1900s to the 1960s. Lead and zinc mining companies left the polluted chat piles, which has caused the pollution to seep into the groundwater, ponds, and lakes of the area. The EPA has declared the Tar Creek Superfund site to be one of the current most toxic areas in the United States. The entire area encompasses 1,188 square miles. Now, as we head down this road, the former school is here on the left-hand side. The white building here is the basketball gymnasium. The football field and track field is located behind it. And as you see, it's also home to where a large amount of the workers that are currently working in Pitcher are. This old building here on the left is really cool. It's super old. But there was a lot of people working, so I wasn't really able to pull in. As you can see, the whole area is fenced off. There's some trailers and stuff, but there was a large amount of workers, and one of the reasons was, other than the just constant work that's going on in the town to clean it up, was that they had their homecoming coming up, which is an annual thing where every December all the old residents get together and they celebrate the town.
So this is the old school gymnasium and everything.
So other than the Superfund site designation, the town still survived. That is until 1996, when a study of local children found that 34% suffered from lead poisoning. After this study had come out, the EPA and state of Oklahoma agreed to a mandatory evacuation of the town. Now, there used to be houses all on the left and all on the right here, and we're just going to drive back down to the main road, which is Highway 69. And as we're driving, you'll see the cops. Here they come. They're on the left-hand side, and they're just cruising by again. And like I said, they passed me and drove by a lot of times. I also had a lot of workers that kind of slowed down and gave me a look. And granted, I'm a fat guy carrying a camera covered in tattoos. I'm not exactly what they regularly see in this town, and people tend to be very suspicious. They want to make sure you're not there messing around or getting in trouble or doing anything. So this is the former ball field, and as you can see, it's just all cleared. It's all just grass. The big, nice, pretty chat piles out in the background. And this is the parking lot for it. There was a cool little, old, I think they were restrooms or something, and they're kind of back there, and I could have walked to them and stuff, but with the cops, they drove by again at some point when I was out of the car, and I didn't want to go walking across the field to go check out the old restrooms. And same with this building that's up here on the right-hand side. It's like an old depot of some kind. I know I've been in it before. There's nothing in it except for graffiti, but it's right by the road, and again, I didn't want to get in trouble. So I just was behaving, and I was just driving around, and I was just taking photos and shooting video, and I spent quite a bit of time. It was a really nice day, so I spent quite a bit of time here in Pitcher. As of the year 2000, Pitcher still had 1,640 residents. By 2005, the state of Oklahoma had restored a whopping 329 acres of contaminated land and approved a buyout of 52 total residents. That's 22 years after Superfund site designation, and that's all they had really done. Now, the true death of the town occurred on May 10th of 2008. On that day, Pitcher was hit by an EF4 tornado. The tornado, with winds up to 175 miles an hour, destroyed 114 homes, 20 blocks, killed 8 residents, and injured an additional 150 residents. And that's really what a lot of this area that you see that is currently burned out right here on the right-hand side, this was the part of the town where the 20 blocks and all the homes were that were completely leveled. I happened to be going home, and as usual, I drive through Pitcher because the road I take to go back to where my family lives, I have to drive through Pitcher to get there. And I happened to actually show up in town 2 days after the tornado, and the destruction was amazing. I mean, nothing was left. Everything was destroyed. One part of town looked fine, and the other part was completely leveled, and it was really crazy. Now, this park, I really wanted to go into it, but it actually had a bunch of signs saying not to go into it because it's contaminated. The famous gorilla statue still stands. They keep it very pretty, and they keep it painted and nice. And as they proudly say, they were the 1-8 state football champions. And this park right here, it's like Remembrance Park or something like that it's called. And I think they do some activities with their Christmas homecoming. That car that was sitting down there at the end of the block, it just sat there the whole time. And at some point they started kind of driving up, and they're one of the local individuals. I don't know if they were just seeing what I was doing. This building here on the left is basically like one of the main community buildings, and I believe that's where the fire department and stuff is. This building right here is crazy because it still has the tile on the floor. In the year 2009, the town voted to dissolve the Pitcher-Cardin School District. Its remaining 49 students, which is surprising considering how long before that lead contamination and the mandatory evacuation had been. They still had 49 students. The 49 students were sent to the Quapaw Area School District, which isn't far away, and the town was then officially disincorporated. So by the time 2010 rolled around, the town had officially only 20 residents. In 2011, a large amount of the buildings were demolished, and that's why you really only see foundations and you don't see the old downtown area and stuff like that. There was a local church that was very famous in photos that used to be featured in a lot of pictures and videos, and same with the mining museum. Both of those fell to arson at some point after 2011. Currently, the area is managed again by the Quapaw Nation. Cleanup is still ongoing, 36 years after Superfund designation. The chat piles are still there. The final commercial business, the Old Miners Pharmacy, closed after its pharmacist, Gary Linderman, passed away. The school is located in the middle of a toxic waste dump. The water is still polluted. All you will find is chat piles surrounded by barbed wire with government no trespassing signs. So as you can see, Pitcher really isn't a ghost town. It's more just an abandoned area nowadays, where a town used to be. There's still workers there. A lot of work is still going on. They take the chat and they mix it with asphalt, and they do that after the chat's been cleaned somehow. And that's really one of the only processes or ways they can do it. The mines are still flooded with water, and red water still leaches out. And, the place is still a giant mess. To say the least, the town is never coming back. Pitcher, Oklahoma is never going to exist again. There's no reason for a town to build back. There's no reason for the town to be there. And apparently, it's safe enough to drive around in because, like I said, I live nearby, or my family lives nearby, and I have to drive through Pitcher, and I've driven through Pitcher for the last 20 years. And I go through anywhere from 2 to 5 times a year. And originally, long ago, I used to stop in Pitcher. I used to get a beer at the little bar. I'd get a hamburger. I'd stop at the service station a lot and get snacks. They had good fried goods, and I'd get a soda or something like that. And then after that tornado hit, the downfall went very, very quick. And then, at one point in time, I remember Dan Bell and some other people shot videos of Pitcher showing it's abandoned, and it was like, oh man, I've been there. The place is awesome. I love Pitcher. And so I was curious, and I remember stopping the next time and nothing was there, and that was because, the church had burned down and the mining museum had burned down, and they'd knocked down Main Street and they'd knocked down everything else. And so it's good to see that there's still some stuff there to remind me of what it used to be, but it's all it is now, is just an area that's very, very polluted. So as you can see, there's really no reason to visit Pitcher, Oklahoma at this point in time. All it is now is the biggest environmental disaster that you've never heard of. All I want to say is thanks for watching this video. Please like and subscribe. My next video is going to be on Cardin, which is the next town over. It's going to be a quick one, just like the Treese one was. And here's some photos of the Christmas holiday that was coming up in Pitcher, Oklahoma. And again, thanks for watching this video.